All right, finally, question number 11. Several of you asked for this one. I understand why. There is a lot to it. All right, so it asked you to find an exact value by using a sum or difference identity. I have a negative 15, so I'm going to subtract. The easiest route, I think, would be to call negative 15, that's the same thing as 30 degrees, take away 45 degrees. Hopefully y'all got that far. All right, so 30 degrees minus 45 degrees. All right, so the tangent, sum, and difference identity, I put that up there. It says number 11. That is also on your, it's on your sheet of formulas that I gave you. But the tangent one, we have, where did we start with? Tangent, yep. The tangent of your first number, and tangent, the top stays the same. So if this is a minus, I'm going to keep a minus up here. So the tangent of the first one minus the second one, all over 1. And on the bottom, the sign changes. So it'll be a plus the tangent of this and that. All right, now fill in the numbers with whatever I was using, which were 30 and 45. The order does not change. 30, 45, 30, 45. All right. So now that is what the formula is. I filled it in. I need to look up on the unit circle and figure out how to simplify this. So the tangent, we remember that the tangent is the y on top of the x. Yes, tangent is your y over your x. So if I looked at the unit circle at 30 degrees, and I want the y over the x, and hopefully you have your unit circles out for this. Tangent of 30 would be a 1 over the square root of 3. Remember, we don't care about the denominator because they end up canceling each other out anyway when we multiply by the reciprocal. The tangent of 45. At 45, both my y and my x are the same thing. They're both the square root of 2. So the square root of 2 over the square root of 2 would just make the number 1. And then the rest of the formula, 1 plus the tangent of 30. We already found the tangent of 30 was 1 over the square root of 3. And we're not going to rationalize it, at least not right now. The tangent of 45 we already found was 1. So this is where we are. All right. You remember that when I am putting a fraction with a whole number, I need them to have the same denominator, so we always turn the 1 into whatever the denominator was I'm trying to get. So instead of calling this thing 1, I'm going to call it the square root of 3 over 3. So I have 1 over the square root of 3 minus, and I'm changing my 1 into the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. All right, in the denominator I have 1 plus 1 over the square root of 3 times 1. No, that's just going to be what it is. So again, this 1 I will also change into the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. So as long as I have the same thing on the top and the bottom, that's equal to 1. And again, these just make a 1 over the square root of 3. Alrighty, so now that they have the same denominators, I need to put them together. Up top here, I have 1 minus the square root of 3, both over the square root of 3. 1 minus the square root of 3, and they both have the same denominator of the square root of 3. Down here, I have the square root of 3 plus 1. I want to write it the other way because I can do that. You can do that with addition. It doesn't matter which way we add. It's the same number. So on the bottom, I have the square root of 3 and the square root of 3, so just the square root of 3. Okay, at this point, I have a fraction on top of a fraction, and so I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Yes, we're going to keep the top. We're going to change this division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip this thing over. So if I kept the top, I would have a 1 minus the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. I'll change this to multiplication. I'll flip this thing over. So the square root of 3 will be on top, and on the bottom I'll have a 1 plus the square root of 3. Okay, we're getting there. At this point, we should see that we can cancel the square root of 3's because we can cancel across multiplication, not across addition or subtraction. What this leaves me with, okay, get low. I got 1 minus the square root of 3 on the top, and on the bottom I have a 1 plus the square root of 3. All right, I cannot have any radicals in the denominator, so I need to multiply by its conjugate. Basically what I'm going to do is create the difference of two squares situation so I can get rid of the square root. I can rationalize the denominator. So instead of a 1 plus the square root of 3, I'm going to multiply by 1 minus the square root of 3. And whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do the same thing to the top. Okay, like mentioned, when I have one with a plus and one with a minus, it creates the difference of two squares. So my first number was a 1, and my second number was a square root of 3. So that's just going to become a 1. 1 squared is 1. The square root of 3 squared, that's going to cancel and just leave me with the 3. And 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So I know the denominator will be negative 2. The numerator, it'll be a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. But you guys weren't the best at that. So we will FOIL. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times negative square root of 3 is negative square root of 3. Negative square root of 3 times 1 is yet another negative square root of 3. And negative square root of 3 times another negative square root of 3 is actually a positive square root of 9. All right, so we already simplified the denominator and found that that was negative 2. The numerator, I have a 1, I have the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is actually the number 3. So I have a 1 plus the 3, which means I have a 4. And then I have a negative square root of 3 and another negative square root of 3. So they don't cancel. They are going to combine. I have negative 2 square root of 3's. Okay. They're both going to get their own denominator. You get a negative a negative 2, and you get a negative 2 as well. This will lead me to my final answer. 4 over negative 2. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. The double negatives will make a plus, and the 2's will cancel. I'll be left with nothing but the square root of 3. That's it, guys. Woo! I believe it's written in the opposite order on your midterm review. They have the square root of 3 first, and then the negative 2. Doesn't matter as long as the signs stay the same. Oh, that was tiring.